Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest battles you will ever fight are not out there in the world. They are in here, within the walls of your own mind. Every limitation you've ever believed, every doubt that's ever whispered you can't, every fear that's tried to hold you back, those are the enemies standing between you and the life you were meant to live. But here's the truth. You were not born to be defeated by your thoughts. You were born to train them, to command them, to make your mind your greatest ally instead of your greatest obstacle. The moment you decide to take control of your inner world, your outer world begins to transform. So if you want to win in life, don't start with your circumstances. Start with your thinking. Because the one who trains their mind to win will never lose again. The moment you decide to master your mind, life begins to unfold differently. Things that once discouraged you start to lose their power. Situations that used to intimidate you no longer shake your confidence. Because the trained mind learns one powerful truth. It is not the world that determines your experience, but your perception of it. And perception, when guided by awareness and discipline, becomes your greatest weapon. The person who can control how they interpret events controls their reality. The untrained mind says, "This is happening to me." The trained mind says, "This is happening for me." That single shift turns adversity into advantage. Every challenge becomes a classroom. Every failure becomes a foundation. Every disappointment becomes a doorway. The person who has trained their mind to win looks at every situation and asks, "What can I learn? How can I grow? How can I use this?" And from that mindset, nothing is wasted. Everything becomes fuel for growth. When you train your mind, you begin to notice the subtle difference between reaction and response. Reaction is emotional. It is the mind on autopilot, ruled by impulse. Response is conscious. It is the mind under control, guided by purpose. The winner responds, the untrained reacts. And the more you practice awareness, the more you realize that every second of your life, you are choosing between those two. The power to win lies not in controlling the outside world, but in mastering that inner moment of choice. Discipline is not about harshness. It is about direction. It is the art of channeling your energy where it matters most. The trained mind knows that focus is its most valuable currency. Where attention goes, energy flows and results grow. But most people scatter their attention, spending their mental energy on worry, comparison, and distraction. The mind trained to win invests its attention wisely. It thinks only on what contributes to its vision and refuses to feed what drains it. To train your mind means to accept full responsibility for your thoughts. It means no longer blaming others for what you feel or where you are. Because the moment you blame, you give away power. The mind that blames cannot build, but the mind that takes ownership can transform anything. When you say, "I am responsible for my thoughts, my focus, and my growth," you reclaim control over your destiny. You stop being a passenger and become the pilot. Think of the mind as a powerful engine. It will take you anywhere you direct it, but you must be the one steering. Without a destination, it will circle endlessly in doubt and confusion. So set clear intentions. Decide what winning looks like for you. Write it down. Speak it daily. Visualize it with emotion until it becomes real in your imagination. Because the mind cannot distinguish vividly imagined experiences from reality. It begins to move you toward whatever you consistently picture. That is why clarity is power. You cannot hit a target you cannot see. And yet, many people wake up each day with no vision of who they want to be or what they want to create. They drift, and drifting minds rarely win. Winners wake up with purpose. They know what they're working toward, even if the road is long. They understand that progress may be slow, but direction is everything. And when you know where you're going, obstacles become temporary, not terminal. There is magic in persistence. Every time you choose to continue when it would be easier to quit, you reinforce the identity of a winner. The trained mind knows that results may take time, but consistency compounds. Small victories lead to great triumphs. Each disciplined thought, each intentional action, each refusal to give in, these are bricks in the foundation of greatness. You may not see progress every day, but every day you train your mind. You are building something within that no external circumstance can destroy. The world around you mirrors your internal state. When your mind is scattered, your life feels chaotic. When your mind is focused, opportunities seem to align. This is not coincidence, it is law. The outer world is a reflection of your inner one. That is why those who train their minds find that life begins to bend in their favor. They are not lucky, they are aligned. Their thoughts, emotions, and actions move in harmony toward a definite purpose. Most people underestimate the power of imagination. They think it's child's play, but imagination is the blueprint of creation. Every invention, every advancement, every achievement began as a picture in someone's mind. When you train your imagination to visualize vividly, you activate one of the greatest forces in existence, the creative power of thought. Winners spend time each day seeing themselves victorious, confident, and accomplished, and through repetition, that inner picture begins to shape outer reality. But mental training requires patience. You cannot plant a seed today and expect fruit tomorrow. The law of growth demands faith and persistence. You must continue watering your mental garden even when results are invisible. The farmer does not dig up his seed to see if it's growing. He trusts the process. Likewise, trust the process of your mental discipline. Keep feeding your mind the right ideas, and in time, they will manifest into form. You are not your circumstances. You are the consciousness directing them. The trained mind remembers this truth daily. It does not identify with struggle. It observes it, learns from it, and transcends it. It knows that every problem carries within it the seed of equal or greater benefit. That is the mark of a winner. The ability to see opportunity in adversity and to act on faith when others freeze in fear. Your environment, too, shapes your mental conditioning. You cannot think like a winner while surrounding yourself with negativity. Choose your influences wisely. The company you keep, the content you consume, the conversations you engage in, all are shaping your mind, either sharpening it or dulling it. If you wish to think powerfully, walk among powerful thinkers. If you want courage, learn from the courageous. If you want excellence, study excellence until it becomes second nature. Remember that the mind follows the path of least resistance. It prefers comfort to challenge, familiarity to growth. But nothing extraordinary is built in comfort. So you must train your mind to love challenge, to associate growth with reward. Each time you stretch yourself, your mental threshold expands. What once intimidated you becomes routine, and what once seemed impossible becomes your new normal. That is how winners evolve. They continuously raise the standard of what they believe they can handle. You will meet resistance, not from the world, but from within. The voice of fear will whisper, "What if I fail?" The mind trained to win answers, and then I will learn. The voice of doubt will say, "You're not ready." The trained mind replies, "I'll begin," and readiness will follow. You see, the trained mind does not wait for perfect conditions. It creates them. It acts despite uncertainty. It moves even when it trembles. It knows that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the mastery of it. The moment you act in faith, the universe begins to rearrange itself around your belief. People call it luck, but it is law. The law of cause and effect, the law of belief in action. You attract not what you want, but what you are prepared to receive. And preparation begins in thought. When your thoughts align with expectancy and gratitude, life begins to bring you the resources, opportunities, and relationships that mirror your mindset. Gratitude, too, is a form of training. It tunes your mind to abundance rather than lack. It makes you alert to the good already present rather than blind to it, and in doing so, it multiplies it. Trained mind knows that you cannot win from a state of resentment or envy. Those emotions close the door to possibility. Gratitude opens it wide. It keeps you centered, creative, and clear-minded even when life tests you. Each morning, before you step into the world, take a few moments to align your thoughts. Remind yourself of who you are becoming. Speak words of power, visualize success, and set your intention to meet the day with strength. In time, this daily ritual will become your greatest advantage, because while others rush into the day unprepared, your mind will already be trained, focused, and aligned with victory. The mind is both the battlefield and the prize. Win there and you win everywhere else. Every great transformation begins with the decision to take full command of your inner world. When you train your mind to win, you cease to be a victim of circumstance. You rise above environment, beyond excuses, into a state of creative control. You become the cause of your own success, the architect of your own future. And when that happens, when your thoughts and actions move as one, when faith replaces fear, when persistence overpowers doubt, you become unstoppable, not because the path is easy, but because your mind is unbreakable. That is the reward of mental training, not just external victory, but inner mastery, the calm confidence of knowing that whatever life presents, you already possess the power to win. There comes a moment in every person's journey when they must decide whether they will continue living by default or begin living by design. The untrained mind lives by default. It reacts, adapts, and survives. The trained mind lives by design. It imagines, plans, and creates. It takes command of thought and emotion with precision, understanding that every day, every moment is an opportunity to shape destiny. The truth is, most people are unaware of the quiet power their thoughts hold. They underestimate the influence of a single belief, a single affirmation, a single mental picture held long enough to take root. Those who understand the workings of the mind know that thought is the first movement of creation. Before any invention, any masterpiece, any revolution, there was a thought. The one who learns to hold a single idea in mind, without wavering, without contradiction, is destined to achieve what others call impossible. You must learn to dwell in the realm of possibility, to hold your imagination sacred. Do not allow the noise of the world to drown out the voice of vision. The trained mind is selective. It chooses its influences with care. It knows that everything it sees, hears, and feels becomes part of its inner programming. That is why the great thinkers of history withdrew from distraction. They understood that solitude sharpens focus, and that silence allows the voice of inspiration to be heard. If you are to train your mind to win, you must practice the art of stillness. Spend time each day quieting the mind, detaching from the endless chatter of thoughts. In silence, the clutter of the world fades, and what remains is clarity. Out of clarity comes direction. Out of direction comes power. The person who can be still in thought can move mountains in action. But remember, the mind resists change at first. It clings to old patterns, old beliefs, and old fears because that is familiar. Training the mind requires patience and persistence. You will fall back into negativity at times. You will catch yourself doubting. But each time you bring your focus back to faith, each time you realign your thoughts with purpose, you are strengthening your control. Just as a muscle grows through resistance, your mental strength grows through discipline. Never forget that your mind is always listening to your words, your tone, your emotions. It records every declaration you make, whether of power or of limitation. Speak only words that reinforce victory. Say, "I can," until you no longer question it. Say, "I will," until doubt no longer exists. The repetition of empowered language rewires the mind to expect success, to demand excellence, and to act accordingly. Every winning athlete, every remarkable leader, every self-made success story you've ever heard began not with ability, but with mental conditioning. They learned to command their focus, to visualize their victory, to see themselves as winners before the evidence appeared. They spoke to themselves with conviction when no one else believed. They trained their minds to see opportunities where others saw obstacles, to persevere when others gave up. And because their thoughts were fixed on success, their actions naturally followed. The trained mind also understands balance. It knows that victory is not achieved through effort alone, but through harmony between thought and action. Thought without action is a dream. Action without thought is chaos. The two must work together, each strengthening the other. A powerful vision must be followed by consistent effort, and consistent effort must be guided by clear vision. When these two forces unite, there is nothing you cannot accomplish. You must also train your emotional state, for emotion fuels thought. When emotion and belief align, the mind becomes unstoppable. Emotion is the magnet that draws experience to you. It gives life to the ideas you hold. That is why enthusiasm is so powerful. When you feel passionately about your purpose, you energize your mind and body to act in harmony with your goals. But when you allow fear or doubt to dominate your emotions, you weaken the power of your thoughts. Guard your emotional energy with the same discipline you give to your thinking. Each time you feel discouraged, remember that your feelings are signals, not sentences. They do not define you. They only reveal where your attention has gone. Shift your focus and your feelings will follow. The trained mind learns to rise above temporary emotion. It recognizes fear as a passing visitor, not a permanent resident. It observes anger, disappointment, or worry without identifying with them. And in doing so, it maintains its power, its direction, its peace. The person who trains their mind to win does not wait for motivation. They create it. They know that action generates energy. The moment you begin moving toward your goal, even imperfectly, momentum awakens. The mind loves movement. It thrives on progress. Each small victory strengthens belief, and belief, in turn, fuels greater action. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle of growth. Do not allow the pace of others to determine your progress. The trained mind is not swayed by comparison. It measures itself only against its own potential. It understands that true victory is mastery over self, not dominance over others. Every day it seeks improvement, a sharper focus, a calmer spirit, a stronger conviction, and because of this, success becomes inevitable. Remember, the mind takes the shape of what it constantly contemplates. If you dwell on lack, your mind becomes limited. If you dwell on abundance, your mind becomes expansive. You cannot think small and live greatly.